Hello, everybody. Ryan Lazanis here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day. And just let me know who's in the chat here. If you can just, all right, we got a couple people in the chat. Could you hear and see me okay? Just let me know. All right, very good. So I'm very excited for this session today, but I'm actually also very nervous. I'm going to tell you why I'm nervous. So I'm excited because it's a topic that I think is very interesting. But I'm nervous because in early April, I'll give you a bit of context. In early April, I was in the woods with my daughter. She'll be 5 years old this month. We have a golf course nearby. I was in the woods. We were hunting for golf balls, and all of a sudden, we these two big dogs saw us in the woods and started barking and started approaching us. And I got a little bit nervous at that. My daughter was very nervous as well. And as I turned around to get her, I hit my head very hard on a tree. And I still have a scar here from it. But I later realized that I had a concussion. And I've been dealing with that for over 6 weeks now. And it's been quite difficult. And I was, really looking forward to this session. I've had in my calendar for a while. And about a month ago, I tried to push through a presentation and I had about a month-long setback. So I was nervous about this session because I didn't want to have another setback. And I made the call last week that I'm actually not going to present today. And I'm actually going to have my clone present to you today. So that's going to sound a little bit strange. So right now, what you're hearing is the real me in lower intensity than usual. But what I did last week, I spoke to Tosin and the Financial Sense team about since I'm talking about cloning and how to clone yourself, this would be the perfect opportunity because I would not be able to make it through a 45-minute presentation. I would certainly not be able to. So why don't I have my clone present to you? And what I did is I scripted out the presentation. I prepared the slides, I scripted out the presentation, and I fed that into my clone, where you're going to see momentarily my video that's going to be playing. The video is not the real me, and it's not my real voice. It is a script that I prepared. It's not AI scripted. It's a script that I prepared, but it's not the real video of me, and it's not the voice. And I've overlaid that on top of slides and had my team edited that. So that's what we're going to do today. So Tosin, if you could just load that up. This is going to play in a couple seconds. If I have the energy at the end, I'd be more than happy to answer questions. So
Hey
don't hold
everyone,
back.
welcome to
Get some
today's
questions.
presentation on
Here
how
we
I
go.
clone myself using AI and how you can too. As the real Ryan just told you, I am unable to present due to a bad concussion I received 6 weeks ago. So as Ryan's digital AI clone, I will be taking over and presenting during the session. I think you'll see that my clone is actually not perfect throughout this presentation. You might notice some irregularities along the way, or you might notice that things look a bit off. But it's also possible that you may even lose sight of the fact that AI is presenting to you during the presentation. We are entering into very interesting times with AI, and we are just scratching the surface. In today's presentation, I want to show you how I've cloned myself. I'm going to show you how I've cloned my voice, how I've cloned my avatar, and how I've cloned my expertise. This slide is the one that excites me the most because you'll learn how I created an AI bot of myself to interact with actual customers of mine 24/7. In the last 30 days, not only has my clone answered over 1,000 messages from them, but it's also created over 30 hours of interactions with my customers. This is AI spending time with my customers, not me, which I think is pretty cool. When you clone yourself, the possibilities of what you're able to do become endless. The objective of today's presentation is to really get you thinking about the possibilities of multiplying yourself through cloning and how you can get started. Note that everything we do right now is an experiment and no one has a precise roadmap for how we should use this technology. I also want to warn you about something else, and that warning is shiny object syndrome. It's possible you might get some FOMO from watching this session. It's possible you might feel the need to drop everything you're doing and fiddle around with all the stuff I'm about to show you. Depending on where you are in your business right now, you might have to resist the urge. This might not be something you want to dedicate a ton of time to right at this very moment, as this might simply not be a priority. But that being said, I do think we need to familiarize ourselves with these kinds of tools and spend just a bit of time fiddling with them. I do think that down the road, everyone will have their own clone. So before we jump into the meat of today's presentation, I want to give you a quick overview of who I am for those of you who might be unfamiliar with me. So once again, my name is Ryan Lazanis. I'm a CPA born and raised in Montreal, Canada. When I'm healthy, I'm generally a super active person who enjoys training for several triathlon races each year, but that's on pause for the time being. Professionally, I started one of the earliest cloud accounting firms in North America back in 2013 called Zen Accounting. I started from scratch with 0 clients, but fell into all the pitfalls imaginable when trying to grow my firm. I didn't know how to price, how to sell, how to market, how to hire or manage people, or literally anything else. Ultimately, through a lot of trial and error, stress, and sleepless nights, I cobbled together all the pieces of the puzzle to scale my firm from scratch to sale in just 5 years, where it was acquired by a large corporate services firm based out of Europe. Following acquisition, I started Future Firm to be the resource I always wished I had running my firm so that I could avoid the typical costly pitfalls. I started it as a blog, just journaling my experience as a firm owner. People started following it. Then they started following my newsletter, which now has close to 10,000 readers. And then they started asking me for help. So a few years back, I launched Future Firm Accelerate to help them out, which provides proven systems, expert coaching, and a like-minded community of hundreds of firms around the world, all collaborating together to help each other unlock freedom and growth in their business. I've been fortunate enough to have thousands of firms pass through the program to level themselves up. Now that you have a bit of an idea of who I am, let's shift back into the presentation. I told ChatGPT that I was presenting to an audience of accounting, bookkeeping, and tax professionals, and gave some context on my presentation, and then asked for a list of reasons why you should actually pay attention to AI. First, the obvious one, as we saw in the last slide, is time savings. Second is talent acquisition and retention. We know finding and retaining talent is tough these days, and talent is getting pickier. Good talent also wants to level up. They know that AI is the future, so if you can embed this more deeply into your company, you give them another reason to stick around. Third, using AI in the right way can improve the customer experience. You can attend to clients faster and in more novel ways if you're creative. By the same token, using the technology in the wrong way can actually be detrimental to the customer experience. Fourth, you can create new revenue models through the use of AI. We'll talk more about what these revenue models could look like a little later on. Fifth, you should care about AI due to future-proofing yourself. AI is moving at an incredibly fast pace right now, and there is definitely a chance that you get left behind. If everyone else is using it and you aren't, you're at a disadvantage. Sixth, using AI can actually help you spot and reduce errors in your work. And seventh, which kind of ties in with the third point, AI can help you differentiate between other firms if you're using it in ways that help improve the customer experience. Now, there's a lot of talk about whether AI is going to replace you or not. I even asked ChatGPT what the top knowledge jobs at risk of being replaced are and in what order, and they actually listed accountants and bookkeepers doing basic level work as a major risk area. Do I believe that? I don't necessarily do. I think humans are quite adaptable, but I do believe that there are first mover advantages to those that start using the technology in ways that improve their business and their clients' lives. It reminds me of when cloud accounting first hit the streets. You'll see on your screen an article I wrote on a popular tech blog site in 2013. In this article, I was discussing the emergence of cloud accounting and how it will make everyone's lives easier. I applied this technology very early on in ways that the vast majority of firms weren't, and clients loved it. They had never heard of automated bank feeds before or scanning your receipts with a mobile app, and because of that, I was able to acquire clients very easily and really stand out from the pack. I was using a new technology in ways people weren't used to, and before long I had more leads than I could keep up with. I see the same kind of transformation taking place right now with AI, except the only difference is that the use case for how we'll use it to improve our clients' lives is not immediately clear yet. At the end of the day, the reason why we should care about AI and why we should take it very seriously is because we have a responsibility to ourselves and our team. We have a responsibility to level up and develop professionally, because if we don't, we will be left behind. Take a look at what you see on your screen now. This is a message I sent to my team in April. My expectation is that my team uses AI in their daily workflows and that we need to develop a reflex when it comes to using AI. I am happy to invest in the tools and training they need to level up. And each weekly team meeting, I require everyone on the team to share the best way they used AI in the last week so that everyone can learn from each other. Okay, now that you know how I feel about AI and why I think it's important for us to pay attention to it, it's time to talk about multiplying yourself. So often I hear from business owners that they just wish they found another version of themselves. Well, now you pretty much can with cloning. There are still improvements that need to be made with the technology, but we are so incredibly close to this becoming transformational in our lives. The question then becomes, why clone yourself? Or maybe more precisely, why did I clone myself? Well, there's a few reasons, but the first one is one of the more interesting ones for me. I run a business that has over 750 firms currently active in my Future Firm Accelerate coaching program and community. Many of these firms want my advice and they want direct coaching from me. Ultimately, I made the decision a while ago that I don't want to grow my business from one-to-one coaching. I have a few legacy coaching clients, but I don't plan to add any more. I also have avoided hiring coaches into our program. We do have another coach, and I may hire a few more down the road, but I didn't want my business to become a traditional coaching business and instead be a bit more leveraged. Ultimately, I cloned my expertise where members of my program can interact with a digital clone of myself so that I could help more people without working more hours or hiring more colleagues. I'll talk more about this one later on in the session. The next obvious reason why I cloned myself is to save time on certain tasks. And then the last two bullets you see here really come down to being interested in the technology and wanting to experiment with it. Right now, I'll admit I probably have not seen an ROI with my efforts right now, and it's possible I'll ever see a return on investment. But I do have a hunch that I'm working on something that will eventually make business sense, and usually my gut instinct is correct. And as mentioned, I think we have a responsibility to ourselves to develop professionally in this area. It's kind of like when the internet first started becoming known. No one knew what it really was or how to really use it. No one knew how to search properly in a search engine to quickly find the information we need. But today, it's second nature. I kind of see using AI in the same way, but with a bit more complexity. Ultimately, we need to use it in a way where it's second nature. So let's now review the 3 ways that I've cloned myself. My first foray into cloning really started when I cloned my voice. Specifically, I cloned my voice for my Future Firm Accounting podcast. The voice you're hearing right now is a clone of my voice. I would say that for most people, it's almost indistinguishable. It does sound a bit robotic and a bit monotone, so that's one of the disadvantages of cloning your voice is that you can't get your true emotions out. But that said, my voice has always been a bit robotic, so it kind of works in my favor. That said, the thought of your voice being cloned can be a bit scary, and it was for me when I first did it. I had warned my team and my family that if ever they get some kind of weird audio request from me, that they should verify this with me on a separate channel, as I do think that scams impersonating yourself will be on the rise. When it comes to use cases for voice cloning, there are a few that might be interesting for you. For one, if you have a podcast, you can completely eliminate the need to record any audio. As I mentioned, I started playing with voice cloning for my podcast, specifically because I really disliked recording audio. I don't speak off the cuff for my podcast and need to script out the episodes, and then I really hated reading the script for each episode. It was very painful for me. So I decided to play around with voice cloning over a year ago, and I was surprised with the results. Today it's even better. I'll show you what I use shortly. If you need to ever record audio, you can eliminate this altogether when you clone your voice using text-to-speech AI models. You could also use voice cloning for any YouTube or social media videos. Let's say you have an animated video and you want to be speaking in the background with your voice. You can use voice cloning for this kind of use case. Most of these text-to-speech voice cloning apps also provide the ability to do the inverse, where it will transcribe text from your audio as well. I'm also seeing some companies start to play around with using voice cloning for customer support. So people can call a phone number and speak to someone who sounds like you and interact with an AI agent. This one will take a bit of work to set up, however. Another use case is if you don't already have a podcast but have a decent amount of written content, let's say on a blog or newsletter, you could easily turn that into a podcast using voice cloning. There are plenty of apps out there for that these days. And then the last one, which I think is pretty cool, is being able to communicate in multiple languages with your clone. For instance, I'm experimenting with different language podcasts right now. We are launching a French and Spanish podcast to connect with different audiences around the world. I do speak French as I live in a French part of Canada, but translating each episode and re-recording it would be a big pain. So I fed my English script into ChatGPT. It translated the episodes into French and Spanish, and then I sent those scripts into my voice clone tool to record the audio in those two languages, which I think is pretty cool. The word is out on whether or not this will be an effective strategy, but it will be an interesting test. So how can you clone your voice? Well, I use a tool called 11 Labs, which seems to be the de facto option at the moment. I pay like $20 per month, and I'm able to upload scripts and output audio in my cloned voice. The first thing you need to do when you sign up is actually add a voice clone. 11 Labs does come with a bunch of pre-populated voices you can use, so you can use one of theirs, but the way I use it is to create a clone of my own voice. On the screen you see here, you have a few options for adding a voice, and the option I suggest is the professional voice clone. The other options are faster to generate, but they won't really sound that good. When it comes to cloning your voice, 11 Labs will ask for audio samples from you. It's important that the audio samples are of very high quality, and ideally they want 2 hours of audio from you to create the clone. You could just speak into a microphone for 2 hours, but what I did was just take my old podcast episodes that were recorded in my own voice and upload that. Shortly after I received my voice clone, on this slide you can see the text-to-speech screen. This is where you input your script, and then you would be able to generate audio with your voice clone. On the right-hand side, you'll see different AI models you can select from. The highest quality one is the multilingual V2 model, and you can also see all the supported languages as well. This is how I was able to create podcast episodes in different languages. And then on this screen, you can see the settings for your voice clone. You have various sliders you will need to play around with to come up with audio for your voice clone that you are satisfied with. Here, this takes a bit of trial and error, but this is how I've set mine. Next, let's look at the second way that I've cloned myself, and this is via my avatar. So the avatar is basically what you've been seeing all along in this presentation. I plan to do a quick demo of what it would look like, but obviously that's not needed anymore. I think the avatar would be used in many more ways compared to a straight up voice clone, but I do think that you actually need to use the two in tandem if you are going to be using an avatar. In terms of some use cases, I think personal welcome videos to new clients could be one use case, especially if you're a firm that's doing decent volume and onboarding many clients each month. Basically, each time a client signs up, you can have an admin change the script to include the client's name, and then it's immediately sent off to them to welcome them on board. I also think that you can send regular check-ins to clients. I'm a big proponent of checking in often with clients. Most clients don't hear from their accountant more than once or twice per year. When this happens, the client is at a higher risk of churn. The more you check in, the more you can secure the relationship. Additionally, the more you check in, the more you can spot upsell opportunities. Every few months, I like to email the client just to ask how business is doing. Clients seem to really appreciate that. You can then use your avatar at scale to send a little video every 2 months or so to check in with the client. These videos can be embedded into your emails as a GIF or a link, for example. You could also create videos that walk through financial reports and send them off to the client regularly instead of scheduling calls. Obviously, the calls have greater value, so you can charge more for them, and on your base packages, you could have videos that are sent out instead. Other ideas include social media marketing videos, pre-recorded webinars like I'm doing in this case, or anything else that would require you to record a video. You can create your own avatar using an app like HeyGen, which is what I use. They call themselves an AI video generator. HeyGen also has a library of its own avatars in case you don't want one of yourself, but truthfully, I always find those a bit cheesy. The first step when using HeyGen is to create your own avatar. I select the hyper-realistic option where a camera is involved, but you can also create an avatar straight from photos of yourself instead of recording yourself, though I'm skeptical of just how good those would be. When you record yourself, it's very important that you have a good background and good lighting because it will be using your background. The background you see in this avatar video is my actual background. It's not coming from HeyGen. Once you create your avatar, the next step is to create videos with it. In the app, you'll navigate to the script section. This is where you can upload whatever script you want so that it can produce a video with audio speaking through your script. What I've done here is I've actually integrated my 11 Labs account with HeyGen, So the audio clone is coming from 11 Labs, as they are far superior in terms of likeness. Once you've selected your avatar, inputted your script, and then selected what you want the audio to sound like, you would generate the video, which takes a few minutes, and you would get something output like you've been watching all along. The last way that I've cloned myself is perhaps the most interesting, but also perhaps the hardest one to get right, and that one is where I've cloned my expertise. I think we're going to see a major trend in this area, and I'm starting to see more and more people get into this. On this slide, you'll see someone on your screen promoting his new app called Trip Talk. I suspect that some of you probably know who this is, and if you know, please comment in the chat. But basically, this is a popular travel YouTuber, Drew Binsky, who has over 5 million YouTube subscribers. And what Drew did is launch an app to help people pick his AI-powered brain. Drew has a large audience who wants his help when it comes to planning a trip, but obviously it's not possible for Drew to directly help all of them. So he cloned his expertise and launched an app where people can speak to an AI version of himself to get assistance planning their trip. Here's another example from a performance coach, Brendan Burchard. By clicking on the blue Start a Call button, you're able to engage with Brendan for free for a few interactions before the AI clone asks you to subscribe to a paid version for more help. And then several months back, I launched something I call RyanBot, which I'm honestly extremely excited about. This is not a huge moneymaker for me, but more of an experimentation of where this could evolve so I try to dedicate a bit of time to improving it each week. With over 750 firms in my Future Firm Accelerate program, it's not possible for me to offer personalized assistance to each and every one of them. So I cloned my expertise, basically everything I know on the subject of unlocking freedom and growth for accounting firm owners, and trained AI to communicate with my customers when they need my help. It's trained on all my content, online courses, curriculum, podcast episodes, and more. It's trained on how to help firms price their services, package their services, come up with marketing ideas and templates, how to respond to clients in certain situations, and basically everything else you could ever need help with when it comes to growing your firm. Ultimately, there are a few good reasons to clone your expertise, in my opinion. First, you can save a lot of time responding to clients. Second, you can differentiate your offering and your packages. Not to mention, you can differentiate yourself with other firms. And third, you can increase touch points with your clients. Once again, I'll show you some stats from my RyanBot clone. In the last 30 days, I had 32 customers engage with my clone who spent an average session with my clone of over 25 minutes and engaged in 120 conversations. RyanBot responded to over 1,000 messages in that time. Think about that. I saved myself 1,000 emails in the last 30 days thanks to my clone. This software estimates that each message takes about 2 minutes to compose, which results in over 30 hours of time saved in the last 30 days, which is absolutely unbelievable. But not only is this time saved, but it's time created. Thanks to RyanBot, my clone has created over 30 hours of interactions with my customers. It has responded to their questions, given their guidance, and provided them with information, all without me doing anything. For instance, here's an example of one customer uploading their 3-tiered packages that they want to propose to a specific customer, and they are asking for feedback on their packages. RyanBot reviewed the packages and, using the knowledge it's been trained on, providing tips on how to improve those packages. This next RyanBot user needed help with their marketing. Specifically, they wanted to create a lead magnet for their website so that they could attract leads where RyanBot produced content for them. Here's another example where someone was looking for help dealing with an angry client and wanted an email template that they would use to respond to that client. This one is pretty neat because we have customers in our program from around the world, and RyanBot is communicating with them in their native language. This person was looking for help on their content marketing and seemed to think the responses RyanBot provided were impressive. And this one is one of my favorites, when a member of our program was looking for pricing advice, and RyanBot mentioned that their pricing should not be discounted in a certain situation, and thanks to that guidance, they were able to lock down a great price and see an amazing return on investment for their membership and RyanBot subscription. I was planning on doing a live demo of RyanBot, but for now, that won't be possible. If we have time at the end and I'm feeling up for it, I may be able to go through a live demo where someone from the chat can ask RyanBot a question and we'll see how it responds. Before I show you how you can set up an AI clone for yourself and what tool I use, let's talk about a few ways on how you might be able to use a clone like this in your firm. The first way is basically the same way that I'm using it now, which is as a way for clients to contact you 24/7. There are different ways that clients can contact you. They can either message you via chat or they can engage in a call on their computer. The interaction could be chat-based, like how it works with ChatGPT, or it could be audio-based through your computer, or it could even be video-based with your avatar. What's really interesting is that you can give people the option to send SMS messages to it or even call it via a phone number. For instance, I recently secured a toll-free number for RyanBot, where members of my program can call it and talk to it directly. The audio sounds just like me as it's using my 11 Labs voice clone. Right now in the world of AI bots like the one I have, calling seems to be a popular option, though I still have to test this out a bit more on my end. What's even pretty scary is that the tool I use has a beta feature which allows your clone to attend Zoom meetings and engage on them on your behalf. The idea of providing 24/7 access to your clone is a neat idea, which some clients would appreciate if you roll it out well. The other thing you can do with that idea, though, is that you can provide access to your clone on your cheaper packages while you reserve access to the human version of yourself on more premium packages. I'm a big proponent of 3-tiered packaging and pricing, not only because it helps you move your prices upstream, but because if you do it well, you can protect your time on your base packages. And this is just one example of how you can achieve that. And then a last idea I have is that you can roll out a mini advisory service using your clone. That could involve clients asking advisory type questions and having your clone respond on your behalf. Honestly, I'm really only scratching the surface with these few suggestions. To clone your expertise, you'll need software, and the tool I use is called Delphi. The tool is quite powerful, but I'm not going to lie that it's going to take a lot of tinkering. There are so many things that need testing and adjustment, and personally, I'm still far from where I want mine to be at. The first thing you'll want to do is define your clone's purpose and give it specific instructions. The purpose is critical because you are basically instructing to your clone what its objective is. Delphi has a help manual that can walk you through how to approach this section, but really there are no rules. Your job is to give it the proper context about how you want it to help people. As an example, RyanBot is engaging with accounting firm owners who are looking to unlock freedom and growth in their business. They are looking for a coach to guide them through certain situations. So I have to train Delphi to help them get from point A to point B in a variety of situations. As you can see, I've input more than 2,000 characters into this field to help guide it. I then give it a set of custom instructions to follow. For instance, after testing my clone out, I would notice that RyanBot would jump to conclusions too quickly and provide advice without understanding the full picture. So my first custom instruction specifically says not to provide advice too quickly without asking appropriate questions in order to get more context of the situation. I also have another custom instruction not to use too many exclamation points as it tended to get a bit excited sometimes. This section will need to be honed and adjusted with time. The next thing you want to do is get your speaking style right. If people are going to engage with a cloned version of yourself, they'll want it to sound like you as much as possible. So we need to define how your clone responds. Here you can load any document you want into Delphi that you've written, which you feel is representative of your speaking style, and it will auto-populate this section. It does a decent job, but doesn't nail it. What I did is took what Delphi auto-populated and then loaded that into ChatGPT and gave it more context around what I was looking for. I also uploaded a variety of documents as well, including anonymized email responses I've sent over a recent period of time, and had ChatGPT analyze my speaking style, and I found it was a lot closer to what I wanted. Then I copy-pasted that back into Delphi. Even with this, the speaking style won't be perfect, and you'll need to test and iterate. Finally, you'll want to train the AI with your expertise. Basically, you need to load the tool with content so that it understands your expertise. If you don't have content that exists, well, you'll need to create it. If you have a blog, podcast, newsletter, webinars, or any other kind of content you produced, you can load this all into Delphi. It can connect with your podcast, your website, Google Drive, and pretty much anything you can think of to suck information in. Personally, I have all my podcast episodes loaded up, but I've also loaded up all my online courses from Future Firm Accelerate as well. On top of that, I've created documents specifically for Delphi to give it more context. As an example, there's a customer overview document you see on your screen. I created that specifically for Delphi so that it understands who I'm trying to help and an overview of their challenges. I'm always constantly loading new content in here as time goes. And then lastly, you want to keep training your clone. For example, every week I have a task to review all the conversations it's having. Sometimes I'll find a situation where it doesn't answer how I'd like it to. So what I'll do is I'll retrain it by adjusting the purpose, speaking style, and or by adding new content. Again, this is not making me a ton of money right now, but I see the future. And to me, there is no way that cloning is not the future. I just don't see any reason why everyone won't have a clone. I know several of you might have questions about security and privacy. I will say I'm not a privacy expert, but I have reviewed the privacy practices of all the tools I've used, and I feel comfortable with the risks. Certainly, there are risks associated. There's risks associated with online banking, with ChatGPT, with any other piece of technology you use out there. You need to be aware of them and be comfortable with the level of risk you take on. So I encourage you to review the privacy and security practices of all the tools I've mentioned here before you sign up to any of them. We've covered a lot today, so what are your next steps? To me, the next step is to simply experiment. No one has mastered this stuff yet. Everyone is still learning and getting accustomed to it all. If you just fiddle around a little bit per week, you'll stay ahead of the game. But remember, this is probably a shiny object for many of you as well, so keep that in mind. If you're curious, and more specifically, if you are looking for help in your firm, you can try RyanBot for yourself. Everyone attending this session gets access to a special offer to try it out for only $9 for the first month and $19 every month after that, where you can cancel anytime. Just go to ryanbot.ai/summit. Then, once you're there, click to try RyanBot and your discount will be automatically applied. To give you an idea, you can ask RyanBot questions like, I want to increase prices on our legacy clients without adding much or any additional services. How do I do that? Or can you help me build my 3-tier packages? Or I want to acquire 5 clients per month. Can you build a marketing plan for me? Or we have a lead who has this specific situation but has now ghosted us. What should I do? Can you help me develop a job description for a senior accountant role? Or my team worked overtime last tax season and I want to avoid that this year. What do you recommend? Or how can I quickly and easily streamline some of my firm's processes? Basically, anything that you have going on in your firm that you need help with, you can just ask it. So if you are interested in checking it out, just go to ryanbot.ai/summit. And remember to click the orange button on that page once you're there to get your discount automatically applied. Also, I'd love to welcome you to my free newsletter read by over 9,000 firm leaders globally if you're looking to unlock freedom and growth in your firm. I share plenty of resources that many enjoy. So that's all for today. Hopefully it was eye-opening, and if ever you have any questions, just contact me on my email on the screen at ryan@futurefirm.co. And now I'm going to pass it back over to you for any questions.
Okay, there we go. I got to get RyanBot. I got to get Ryan. I got to get the Ryan clone going. But so yeah, hopefully that uh, was a bit interesting. I know it was a bit weird, but I feel like we're at a point in time where it's going to get a lot weirder. And yes, this is the real Ryan. Thank you, Tosin. Um, but there's so many use cases, and this one is interesting but scary at the same time. This was one of the scariest things that I've heard, actually, but also could be the future of, someone on my LinkedIn was interested in the idea of cloning themselves. And the reason he wanted to clone himself was because he had a small child, and he wanted when he eventually passes away, he wants his child to be able to keep learning lessons from him and to be able to speak with a cloned version of himself. And I think we'll see stuff like that take place now. That's scary, it's interesting, but I just think that's the future of where we're going. And you can either embrace it or not. I mean, the choice is yours. So So yeah, what I could do right now is I could show you a little bit of Ryan bot. There was a question in the chat here, and I'm not going to last too long, to be quite honest with you. I'm kind of crashing out at the moment, but I want to go through. There was a question about billing, and I want to go, yeah, let me copy paste this. Let me see if there's anything else. So let me share my screen. All right. So can everybody see my screen? So I don't know what's going to be output here, because what RyanBot does is it remembers who you are, and it will use that information to, um, like if I've had conversations with it in the past, and then I copied and pasted a message from the chat where someone had a question about their firm, and I put in here, it might give strange information because it remembers information from the past. So let's see how this works out. Let's see how valuable this is. Hopefully this is a good demo. I tried to give it a different email address here to recognize me as someone entirely different. But let's say, this was the question from the chat. Okay, so the best thing you can do is give it context. Okay, so, hello, I have a 10-person firm. We focus on tax and bookkeeping. I think one of our main pain points sits within our billing process. Managers have to spend a great deal of time trying to properly bill and allocate time to properly bill a client. How could our time-based work be better billed? All right. Well, let's see. So I've set it up. The response is long because I want to kind of explain rather than just tell. So let's see what it says. So, common issue for firms rely on time-based billing, as this often requires significant effort to track, allocate out, justify hours. Good news, there's a better way to approach this, transitioning from time-based billing to a fixed pricing model with standardized packages. So if anybody knows me and my coaching, I'm all about fixed price packages, the 3-tiered approach, and I'm always going to be pushing for that. Okay, so now what I wish I would do, what I wish I would do better here is it would kind of probe a little bit more rather than just jumping into a response. Um, but I kind of explain why to make that shift, and then how to kind of get started with that model. So it's kind of giving a high level overview. So it says, what are your thoughts? Would you like, a deeper dive on how to structure these packages? And let's just say, well, I'm not quite sure I buy into the whole fixed price package approach. What happens, if clients take more time than expected? Won't I be losing money? So let's see how it responds here. So then this is basically how I would respond. It all comes down to defining your scope. Like, this is a common thing that I see. People are used to pricing by the hour. It's not a scalable approach, in my opinion. There's a lot of negatives to it. But people are nervous to kind of make that switch sometimes because they're not sure how to go about doing that switch. And they're concerned about, someone, with the billable hour, you just start the clock and perform the work and send the bill afterwards. So you're getting paid for every minute you spend. Whereas with a fixed price, if a client asks a million questions in the year, then that's going to hurt your margin unless you scope the work properly. So scope, build in a buffer. And what it's doing here is it's cross-referencing all the content in my program. So it's not just making it up. It's taking the information from where I've trained it. So I've trained it on, let's say, pricing and packaging. Here's where it's getting all the information from, and then it will link directly to something in my program. So it's not just making it up. You can actually see where it's coming from. And you could share your packages. It could, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's basically how RyanBot works. So I don't know if this is helpful for you or not, but this is the way that people are interacting with it. And then shortly enough, you'll be able to call it, you'll be able to send an SMS. I'm playing with a whole bunch of different ideas right now, but people are using it. Like, this is not just a test. As you saw in the slides, people are spending an average session of 20 minutes each time. People are sending it hundreds and hundreds of messages. Um, you know, uh, I'm creating time. That's the interesting thing. I'm creating time with this bot. I'm interacting with clients when I normally wouldn't interact with them, or customers, right? So they're interacting. I'm creating interactions. Yeah. So just look at the comments here. Yeah. Can RyanBot input tax info into the tax program so you can just review your clone's work? No, that's kind of, I think, like agents, like AI agents that are performing tasks. This can't perform tasks. This is a question. How do you balance being a go-to source of knowledge as a SME? Yeah, my brain is not super sharp right now, so I'm not processing that question. Let me see what else we got here. AI agents, I'm not too sure about AI agents. I have not played around with it very much. I'm so old-fashioned, I feel unfair to charge less for making packages. My partner is more tech, so he wants. I'm so old-fashioned, I feel unfair to charge less for making packages. I'm not, if you could reiterate that question. How could this be used for sales, new business? I think, a lot of the sales is a tough one because we're trying to create some kind of relationship, some kind of personal connection. Um, so that one, I'm not sure I would use it for sales unless you do sales primarily by email or chat based, which most people do. But down the road, certainly we'll have clones that will be able to engage in videos, that will be able to use your expertise to talk to potential clients and probably lock down deals. Time's up. I didn't notice. All right, that's it, everybody. Look, hopefully that was helpful. I know that was a little bit strange, a little bit weird, but hopefully this opens your eyes a little bit. And I'm happy I made it through. If you have any questions for me, just hop onto my newsletter, futurefirm.co/newsletter, and I answer all emails there as well. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Tosin and Financial Sense. Appreciate it.